Today, we're diving into the historical equivalent of a chaotic game of Jenga, where the entire planet was the tower, and humanity, well, we were pretty terrible at playing. We're talking about those moments, sometimes grand, sometimes absurdly trivial, when civilization teetered on the brink, only to pull back from the abyss at the very last second. Get ready to feel a healthy dose of existential dread, sprinkled with a surprising amount of sheer, dumb luck. Because today, we're counting down the list of historical events that nearly ended civilization. Let's kick things off with a classic. First up, the granddaddy of modern existential crises, the Cuban Missile Crisis. For 13 terrifying days in October 1962, the world held its breath. The United States had discovered Soviet nuclear missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles off Florida. Think about that, 90 miles. That's less than a 2-hour drive for a weapon that could wipe out a city. President Kennedy initiated a naval blockade, demanding the missiles be removed. Soviet ships steamed towards the blockade line. The global temperature didn't just rise, it was boiling. People were building bomb shelters. Schools were practicing duck and cover drills. It's hard to imagine a more potent symbol of futility, really? The world was quite literally a single misinterpreted radar blip, a stressed-out commander, or a stubborn politician away from global nuclear war. We know now that a Soviet submarine, B-59, was nearly forced to launch a nuclear torpedo. It was Vasily Arkhipov, a Soviet naval officer, who refused permission, preventing a decision that would have cascaded into full-scale conflict. So, thank you, Vasily. We all owe you our continued existence. The crisis eventually de-escalated through tense negotiations, but for a very long time, it truly felt like humanity had bought a one-way ticket to oblivion. Speaking of our continued existence in Soviet officers, let's talk about Stanislav Petrov. The year is 1983. Tensions between the US and the Soviet Union are on a trigger. On September 26, Colonel Petrov was on duty at a secret Soviet command center. Suddenly, the system blared. An alarm flashed. Launch? Followed by another, and another. Soon, the screen indicated 5 American ICBMs were heading for the Soviet Union. Petrov's protocol was clear. Report the attack, triggering a retaliatory strike. The fate of the world rested on his shoulders. He looked at the data. Something felt off. Only 5 missiles. He made a gut call. He declared it a false alarm. A few agonizing minutes later, it was confirmed. A computer glitch, reflecting sunlight off high-altitude clouds, had been misinterpreted as missile launches. Stanislav Petrov, a man whose job was to press the button, decided not to. He saved us all from a nuclear winter, not with battlefield heroism, but with a critical eye and healthy skepticism. What a legend! Sometimes it's not human folly, but the universe itself aiming for a cosmic strike. Enter the Tunguska event. June 30th, 1908. Remote Siberia. If you were there, you would have seen a flash so bright it might have burned your eyeballs, followed by a shockwave that flattened 80 million trees across 800 square miles. That's an area larger than London. Witnesses hundreds of miles away were knocked off their feet. Yet scientists found no impact crater. The conclusion? A meteor or comet exploded in the atmosphere about 3 to 6 miles up. It released energy 1,000 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. The good news? It hit an incredibly sparsely populated area. The bad news? If that object had arrived a few hours later, the Earth's rotation would have placed it directly over a major European city. Imagine that scale of destruction unexpectedly, without warning, in a densely populated region. Civilization would have been thrown into chaos. The universe isn't just throwing rocks at us. Sometimes it zaps us. On September 1, 1859, a British astronomer named Richard Carrington observed an enormous solar flare. 20 hours later, the Earth was hit by the most powerful geomagnetic storm in recorded history, the Carrington event. The sky, even in the tropics, was ablaze with auroras so bright people could read newspapers by its light at midnight. Sounds beautiful, right? Not so much for the technology of the time. Telegraph systems went haywire. Operator offices caught fire. Wires sent shocks to operators and even worked without being connected to batteries. Now, imagine that happening today. Our modern world runs on electricity and digital systems. Satellites would be knocked out, communications would collapse, and power grids would suffer catastrophic failures, potentially for months or years. The economic and social fallout would be unimaginable. It would be less dark ages, and more really, really dark ages, possibly with angry mobs fighting over canned goods. Let's return to the Cold War for a moment, because it turns out those near misses weren't isolated incidents. There were multiple times technical glitches and human error came alarmingly close to sparking Armageddon. In 1960, a B-52 bomber carrying 2 nuclear bombs crashed in North Carolina, with 5 of the 6 safety mechanisms on one bomb failing. One single low-voltage switch stood between us and a nuclear catastrophe on American soil. In 1979, a training tape simulating a massive Soviet strike was accidentally loaded into a live NORAD computer. For 6 agonizing minutes, commanders across the U.S. thought World War III had begun. These weren't isolated incidents. They were a consistent, terrifying pattern of humans and their early buggy machines almost wiping themselves off the map. It's a miracle we made it through the Cold War without an accidental bang. Lest you think all our near misses involve space rocks or human stupidity. Let's pivot to something more subterranean. Yellowstone supervolcano. Yellowstone National Park is beautiful. It's also sitting on top of one of the planet's largest active supervolcanoes. A super eruption here isn't just a big bang. It's an event that alters global climate. Geologists know Yellowstone has erupted 3 times in the past 2.1 million years. Each time, it covered vast swaths of North America in ash, causing a volcanic winter that would devastate agriculture and plunge the planet into a deep freeze. While there hasn't been a close call in the sense of an imminent eruption, there are constant seismic activities and ground uplifts that remind us what lies beneath. If Yellowstone ever did go off on a super eruption scale, it wouldn't be a quick apocalypse. It would be a slow, agonizing descent into a global famine. So, next time you're enjoying the geysers, remember, you're essentially standing on a planetary pressure cooker. Finally, let's cast our minds back to a time before missiles and computers, when a tiny, invisible enemy brought humanity to its knees. Medieval pandemics, we're primarily talking about the Black Death. Between 1346 and 1353, the bubonic plague, carried by fleas on rats, swept across Europe, Asia, and North Africa. Once it hit the densely packed, unsanitary cities of medieval Europe, it exploded. The death toll was staggering. Most historians agree it wiped out between 30 and 60% of Europe's population. Entire villages vanished. Social structures collapsed. This wasn't just a bad flu season. It was an event that reshaped the continent. Why didn't it totally end everything? Slower travel times compared to today, isolated populations, and eventually, some natural resistance. But it serves as a chilling reminder that the greatest threat doesn't always come from a mushroom cloud or a giant asteroid. Sometimes, it's an enemy so small it's invisible, quietly dismantling society, one breath at a time. And there you have it, a chilling list of times we almost clicked the undo button on humanity. From literal battles of wills, to cosmic near misses, to microscopic invaders, our species has, commenced all odds, managed to stick around. It's a testament to human ingenuity, sheer dumb luck, and sometimes the quiet bravery of individuals making the right call under unimaginable pressure. But it's also a sobering reminder of just how fragile our existence truly is. Which of these near-apocalypses sent the biggest shivers down your spine? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this trip down almost ended history lane, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe for more fascinating insights, and ring that notification bell so you never miss another moment of existential dread. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time, assuming civilization is still intact.